Well, we're off to a good start here. I want to share my thoughts on the game, but without actually getting into too much combat, because it's going to be too difficult for me to share my thoughts on the game while I'm getting my face drilled with a bunch of arrows. I think that this is a great game. If you take away all the alleged controversy and the politics out of it, such as the whole Black Samurai thing that really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, even though I think this is not the works of DEI at play, for the simple fact that allegedly, I mean, I wasn't there over 400 years ago in feudal Japan to see who was at the side of Nobunaga, but supposedly this man truly was there. Whether or not he was a servant or an actual samurai, honestly, for me, isn't the point. I think that the storytelling is absolutely amazing. How they actually introduce Yasuke here as a foreigner, as far as how he got the name, how in the very beginning, you and Naoe weren't exactly on the best of terms, and then how the story developed for you to see their friendship blossom. And I think it was absolutely incredible the way that the story has been told thus far in my 25-hour journey. The gameplay in terms of just the moment-to-moment actions, I think, is phenomenal. There's been very few glitches aside from the very odd, weird, decapitated enemy that would stand back up on their own 2 feet wanting to be somehow killed again, or being shot halfway across the province when I was on a rooftop trying to jump down. It's just a very solid game in terms of the performance, especially on the PS5 Pro. That's the only system that I can speak for. It's just absolutely great. When you take the likes of games in recent couple of years, such as Cyberpunk or even The Witcher 3, which is still somewhat recent-ish history, or if we take a look at any other game that's come, Kingdom Come, that just came out not long ago. There's oftentimes a lot of glitches that are very frustrating to encounter in a game that you're paying a lot of money for. And this game just doesn't seem to have any of that. I'm not seeing floating trees that are flying in the middle of the air. I'm not seeing flying eyeballs or swords that aren't connected to a person's body. All right, you're gonna have to give me a minute here. This is an actual guardian, and this is what I was kind of hoping wasn't gonna happen. I don't do well, and yes, I know I can heart lock him. I don't want to. The combat, yeah, let's talk about the combat. I think the combat is great. One of the things that a lot of games have been doing in recent history that I just really don't appreciate is the whole thing where your camera is off to the side a little bit to the left. I wish that it was more like The Witcher 3 or Zelda Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, where your character's actually centered in the middle. But you unfortunately just simply don't get that. And for me, it's frustrating. Now, from a story perspective, what's really interesting is Naoe has ties to the actual Order of Assassins from Assassin's Creed, predominantly her mother. Now you, as Yasuke, the male protagonist, you're actually not anywhere near tied to the story itself. You're actually not an assassin. This is why you don't have eagle vision. This is why you don't have the hidden blade, even though there's other Assassin's Creed that didn't have them, but they all had a connecting storyline with it. So when people say, oh, Yasuke shouldn't have been in the game, he's a black samurai, those never existed, he shouldn't be in the game. No, if there's ever a place to say that he shouldn't belong in the game, is the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time you play an Assassin's Creed game where you're not an assassin. So we can poke fun at that if we want. I think that that's incredibly interesting. Naoe is great. She offers a playstyle that is pretty amazing with the grappling hook, the eagle vision, the better stealth. Whereas Yasuke, he can't do like any of that whatsoever. For obvious reasons. I wish he was slightly more capable in some of those departments, but there are going to be times where essentially you need to swap out of Yasuke to play as Naoe, whereas it never seems to happen the other way around. I think the graphics are phenomenal. Again, I'm on the PS5 Pro, but I want to mention something specific to the PS5 Pro, which I've already talked about already, is the fact that this is probably the best PS5 Pro enhanced game ever in the history of the PS5 Pro, which has been short-lived, because this game was actually designed with the PS5 Pro in mind. It wasn't an afterthought. So that whole global ray tracing illumination, or whatever it's called, in performance mode on the PS5 Pro at rock solid 60 FPS is just absolutely mesmerizing. It's mind-blowing, and I absolutely love it. The dynamic weather is great. Now, if I were to shit on the game a little bit, it would be that thing, like I said, where I wish Yasuke had a bit more of an assassin's background so that it made a little bit more sense. Somehow develop the eagle vision. I don't know if me saying that even makes any sense, but either which way, I wish that it was in there in some capacity, but it isn't. As you could see there, I was actually able to make an assassination. It is interesting to see different clans or enemies fighting amongst each other, and if you try and help one out, you're actually still going to get attacked by the other faction, if you will. So that makes it feel interesting in the sense that it's not just you against the world. Now, when it comes to the difficulty and the settings and the accessibility, another place that I like to shit on it is that we just don't have that depth. As of right now, at least, but that's going to come out potentially later. If you look again, like I said, with Odyssey and Valhalla, you didn't have all of these different gameplay options where you can change the level scaling, the level of that level scaling, your parry window, and all these intricate little things that you can do. It's just not here, but it generally never is day one in an Assassin's Creed game. Now, in terms of the pacing, I did find the first several hours to be a little bit too slow. I mean, it helped to shape the story, but it truly took me roughly 10 hours before I was even able to unlock Yasuke, just to find myself a couple of times having to switch out back to Naoe to either make something more accessible or because I literally just did not have a choice in the matter. Another place to fault it on, even though generally I wouldn't know this myself because all my games are digital, is that if you had the physical copy of this game, you still required a day one patch. And you did need, in fact, to have an internet connection, which to me is an abomination, and that should never, ever happen. But it is what it is. Whereas when it came to Assassin's Creed Mirage, the word is that if you had the physical version of that game, it did not require a one-time internet connection to install the game. So that obviously is appreciated for that, as it should be the default blueprint when it comes to single-player games. When it comes to customization and transmog, we both know that when it comes to Odyssey and Valhalla, it's got quite an extensive transmog system. This one, in my humble opinion, is absolute shit. Although you can hide your gear, and then you're basically left your little diaper, you actually cannot go beyond just the helm and your overall outfit as a whole. You no longer have a separate chest, to separate legs, to separate boots, to separate, gloves. It's just all in one, so you can't mix and match. And to me, that's incredibly problematic. There's also a weird, bizarre thing where when you go to transmog the bow, and say you equip another bow, and then you want to transmog to another one, it won't do the quiver. It'll actually just do the bow itself. And as you could see in the preview, you could see it's just showing you the bow, not the actual quiver. You'll see the old quiver, but you won't see the transmog quiver. It won't transmog it for some oddball reason. Another place that I'm disheartened with is the fact that they did force a little bit of a level scaling. Like, I for one, enjoy level scaling in games, but it should never be used as a default. And although it is a very soft sort of scaling, I just don't believe it should be in there. So I actually just hit level 24, and I want to zoom out and show you one of the first areas of the game, which is... helps if I remember where it was. It was over here. So as you can see now, this area, Izumi Setsu, is one of the first places that you go. I'm now, what did I just say? Level 24? Yeah, so by default, at the most, you'll always be 4 levels above them. You can never be more than 4 levels above them. So they're going to be pushover easy, especially if you put the game on story. If you put it on harder, sure, they'll pose a little bit more of a challenge, but in my opinion, this is just for me. Yeah, the default would be, I suppose, is to leave it the way it is intended. If they were level 1 to level 5, then, you know what? They shouldn't be any higher than level 5. But on day 1, they should have just had all those options. To me, it caters to everybody. I've talked about this before in other games. That way, you could play the game the way you want. Is somebody's sword sharper in another area that they're able to kill you in one hit? I just think that that's kind of ridiculous, because there's also the thing where if an enemy is actually a few levels higher than you, even if you have good gear that's your level, and they actually don't out-level you all that much, they will kill you in one hit. You can actually try and assassinate them in their sleep, and you can have the option to cheat, to have perfect assassinations at all time, and you'll actually miss, and the assassination will fail. Which I think is absolutely fucking stupid. So, taking away, you know, all that, if you will, and just the moment-to-moment action. For me, this is an incredibly solid game in terms of gameplay, story, graphics, performance, just what you're used to getting for a day 1 experience. I think that this is a tremendous game that is worth looking into. And if you are, you know, biased against Yasuke, because I know that's like a huge thing, and I can understand where you're coming from. However, like I said, for me, it does seem to make sense for Yasuke to exist, because, again, big topic of conversation to keep going on about it, is that allegedly he truly did exist, and that Nobunaga truly did want to meet him because he was black, and because when you're in Japan, a lot of those people had never seen a colored person before. And the fact that they integrated that in this game, I think it was a stroke of genius, really. And then you end up actually having Nobunaga in here. I think it's absolutely wild. And other than that, I mean, I've been rambling on for 13 minutes about nothing really all particularly exciting. I think I am going to wrap it up here. But like I said, if you were on the fence, but you really do like Assassin's Creed as a whole, I think you should check it out. It is a little bit bizarre, though, in closing, because had this game been called something else and not been called Assassin's Creed, and it was just called The Tale of Naue and Yasuke, the formation of an unlikely alliance or whatever, I think it would have gotten a lot less backlash. Because if you recall a lot of the prior Assassin's Creed game, you know, and I think you can go in the Animus in this one. I haven't bothered myself going inside the Animus. But there were a lot of other Assassin's Creed games where they would, like... how do I explain this really quick? Where part of the quest would be to come out of the Animus. There was even one game where, as Desmond Miles, what did you end up having to do? You actually had to fight the modern-day Templars, and they were trying to kill you. Then you would go back into the Animus, and you know what I mean? And then it would just explain the actual story of the whole Assassin's Creed and how you can have your memories through your ancestors and stuff like that. Whereas the past couple of titles, even the Valhalla one, which is arguably probably one of my favorite overall Assassin's Creeds in history, I find at least that it does a poor job at connecting you to the actual franchise story of Assassin's Creed. Like I said, when I play this game, I don't really get all that often at all a sense that I'm playing an actual Assassin's Creed game. And again, I could be wrong, but it's going to take a lot more than having Naue talk about the hidden blade for 5 seconds here and there for me to be like, oh yeah, this totally feels like an Assassin's Creed game. So, yeah, that's another, you know, negative that I would say I'd have to mention. It's hard for me not to mention that. That's enough rambling. I'm terribly sorry for the long, convoluted rant. There's no script. I didn't really give this any thought, and potentially I should have. It would have been more streamlined and a lot less wonky. But it is what it is. This was just off the cuff. If you did enjoy the video, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated, as it does help with the algorithm and trying to make me more relevant in the search results when people are looking shit up. Thumbs down if you didn't like the video, and I'll just break it off in your ass. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, I mean, naturally, that would be great. But if not, thanks for stopping by anyways. Take care. And if I'm lucky, just maybe, I will see some of you in the next one. I just pointed at the camera until I just recalled that I was never on the camera to begin with. All right, bye for now.